questions? Ooh, thank you. Whether it relates to food or meals or anything like that, but then also anything we cover today, you can put it in the chat, or I'm sure we'll have time at the end for a Q&A. Okay, so I hope everybody can see the screen. I did a few slides just to make it a little bit easier, and I can always share these slides and you guys can keep them and refer back. We're going to talk about why exercise matters for our health. And I know sometimes we think it just has to do with weight loss, but there are so many reasons why it is important to move. And sometimes I don't even like to call it necessarily exercise. I just want to call it movement, because any additional movement in our day provides many benefits. So a couple of them I listed here, and I am going to go through them because they're really critical. And I hope one of them, if not all of them, will touch a nerve with someone, or someone that might be in this situation that this could help. So we're going to start with heart health, because as you know, exercise can lower your blood pressure and reduce your risk of heart disease and stroke. So heart disease is the top chronic disease in the United States, probably in the world, that people die from. So we want to be paying attention to our heart and how we make our heart not only stronger, but pumping blood through our bodies. It can improve cholesterol levels and also reduce inflammation. So one of the things is there is any kind of chronic disease that you, let's just say, Google, and you say, how can I prevent heart disease? Exercise and food are always going to be on that list. And pretty much any chronic disease, you're always going to see exercise as that plays a part in prevention or management of those diseases. Muscle strength is important, especially as we age. It can build and maintain muscle mass and keep your strength. It also helps your joints and keeps you mobile. So as we age, every year as we age, we lose muscle mass, and that is called sarcopenia. So we want to make sure we're maintaining that and doing things to support the muscle loss. Because if we don't have muscle, then we lose a lot of our stability and the agility and our ability to do things in everyday life. People, as they get older, their muscles tend to go down a little bit because we tend to be more sedentary. So we got to stay on top of that. Of course, weight loss plays a role, as always, because when you move, you are burning calories, but it also helps prevent obesity and many cancers. So we're not only fighting inflammation, we're making our metabolism work harder by making it more efficient. Stress is one of the biggest one of the biggest things you can do for stress, depression, anxiety, all of it. It reduces those stress hormones like our cortisol. When our cortisol is high, you go out for a walk and it brings that cortisol down. Adrenaline is our good stress hormone. So like if you're running after a dog, you're chasing a dog, you're chasing a kid, you want that adrenaline. But the other stress hormones like cortisol, we want it to go up, but then we want to know how to bring it down. And exercise is a great way to manage that. It can also help with sleep, because when you work out, you tend to you're more tired and your body needs rest and it needs to rejuvenate. So hopefully you're sleeping better and sleeping longer, which is key for our brain health as well. Metabolic health. So exercises increase insulin sensitivity. So if you know a diabetic, exercise, movement, all amazing ways to bring down your blood sugar levels. If you are eating a big meal, specifically carb heavy, walking 10 to 15 minutes after a meal will immediately help bring those blood sugar levels down. It will reduce body fat, improving your blood pressure, and then again, those cholesterol levels. So all those metabolic biomarkers see a direct impact when you start moving more. Your immune system. So when we're fighting a virus or an infection, we want to make our immune system strong, our lungs strong, and kind of flush out the bacteria and the viruses. So sweating is also a great way to flush out toxins. So not only are you making your lungs stronger and your heart stronger, but you're building antibodies and white blood cells that can help you fight things down the road. So we might not be sick, but we never know what's coming, right? Especially like in COVID times. if we were all in better metabolic health, we may not have seen the results we saw. Bone health is critical as we age also. Exercise will, specifically strength training, will keep your bones healthy and strong, and it can slow down the loss of bone density that comes with age. So some of you may have heard of osteopenia, which is softening of the bones, and then osteoporosis, which is actual bone loss. So when we get up into our 40s and 50s, I mean, we naturally will lose some bone density. And that's why we recommend like a DEXA scan. Some of your practitioners may have recommended that at some point, but getting ahead of it, especially for menopausal women, because when we don't have enough hormones, we're seeing a lot more osteoporosis. So strength training, resistance training, body weight, all of that to help keep your bone health strong. And those tests, there are certain tests that they can do to see where you are. So having a baseline, I would say probably in your 40s is a good time to get that baseline number so you can track it over the years and then make adjustments to your daily activities or your exercise routine. And then, of course, exercise helps with falls because our core, if you consider that your trunk or your midline, we call it, if that isn't strong, then we lose our arms and legs a lot. That controls the rest of your body. Think of it as your tree trunk, and your arms and legs are the branches. If that tree trunk is not solid, then we run into problems down the road. So things like Tai Chi, walking backwards, standing on one leg, just improving your balance in general. One of the things I tell people for your balance and for your brain health is to stand on one leg while you're brushing your teeth and try to challenge yourself that way. There's so many different things we can do to keep our core or our midline strong, which really controls everything else. Okay, so again, why exercise matters. Going into a little bit more detail, brain health, activities that challenge coordination and endurance. So things like dancing and swimming, they promote what's called neuroplasticity. BDNF is really the technical name. But things like Parkinson's, if you know anyone with Parkinson's, one of the best things they can do is exercise. Weight training and cardio, hit any of it, just moving in general, they see great results from with Parkinson's. And then of course, Alzheimer's. Healthy relationships. Exercise regulates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. I know that's a long word. And then we have that stress hormone again. Those feel-good neurotransmitters, and then that makes us happier. I don't know if a lot of you that may go to the gym, you feel happier when you maybe not when you're doing it, but when you leave, you feel better and you feel accomplished. And it just helps your mood in general. And then you're like nicer to other people too. One of the key things is cancer. It reduces the inflammation and balances those hormones like estrogen and insulin that can lead to other things. So when you have certain chronic diseases, that can lead to the more serious diseases like cancer. Specifically breast, colon, and lung cancer. So any type of movement you can mix in. I have a graph here on running, helps your legs, your lungs, your heart, your muscles, your mind, and your immune system. I mean, so many things. We can go on, right? Okay, so let's talk about like the different types of exercise. So really, if we're looking at exercise in general, finding a good balance of different types of exercise is ideal. But I want to make sure that everyone understands that any type of movement is good movement. Anything that you're willing to do and stay consistent with, we'll take it. But we'll break it out a little bit and explain kind of why. Aerobic exercise, which is the cardio, so that's getting our heart pumping. Aerobic exercises is great, but when we talk about aerobic, I also want to explain how important it is to get some intensity with the cardio, because we could walk at the same pace, but really what challenges your lungs and your heart is when you push a little bit. So there is something called a Tabata or a HIIT class, and I think I have a slide on that also, but where you're raising the heart rate and then you bring it down. So you're stretching those muscles and then they relax, and then you push them again and they contract. That's what you're looking for. So aerobic exercise is fine, but then I want to challenge you to also incorporate some intensity. The recommendation for aerobic is 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity. So that's where you can talk, but not sing. If you're walking with someone, you can have a conversation. The vigorous or the high intensity that I'm talking about, it would be very hard for you to talk. So that's a kind of a good gauge as to see if you're pushing yourself. So let's just say you decide to go out for a walk. You might want to walk a block, run a block, walk a block, and then run a block so that you're getting the benefit of both of those. Um, and that will help hopefully the things we're thinking about when we're talking about this type of exercise is longevity, like long term, so that we keep our all of our heart and our lungs and our brain at optimal levels. Strength training is one of my most favorite things to do, especially as I've gotten older, because I understand the importance of the bone and the muscle health. Examples of this is weight lifting, body weight exercise, things like push-ups and squats, or even resistance bands. There's varieties of different things. The benefits are the muscle, the bones, and of course, pushing your metabolism. And then one of the things about strength training is the more muscle you have, the more your muscles really secrete more insulin. So if you are pre-diabetes or diabetes, one of the best things you can do to help manage that blood sugar is to build more muscle mass. The recommendation in general is 2 to 3 sessions per week, targeting all those major muscles like your legs, your back, your chest, arms, and then that important tree trunk or your what we refer to as your core. We want to preserve that muscle because you will lose it as you age, and we want to remain active and mobile and independent in our older years. Okay, the other criteria of exercise that we want to consider is flexibility and mobility. And I've definitely noticed this as I have aged, is I've gotten tighter, right? Your muscles and your bones and your ligaments and joints tend to be a little bit tighter and get sore quicker. So we got to keep up with that. So we want to think about our range of motion. And if you've had an injury or if you've ever had physical therapy, they really work hard on that. And being flexible and mobile will reduce injury, and it's easy on the joint stress. So we want to keep that circle going. The recommendation to that is 2 to 3 sessions per week and holding stretches for 15 to 60 seconds. So you can play with that number a little bit. There's bazillions of YouTube videos where you can do some yoga, stretching, Pilates. All that is amazing for flexibility and mobility. And a couple of the longevity links is your posture. You know, if you sometimes see people in the grocery store and they're bent over, it will help all those things. Mobility, and then of course, reduce the risk of falls again, because we're staying more limber and flexible. And if we do fall, we're able to quickly react to that. This is the high intensity interval training that I was talking about. So examples of this are sprinting. I know if you're like me when you were younger and in gym class, they'd have you be doing sprints, or if your kids or your grandkids are in sports, they run sprints a lot. We need to keep up with that a little bit, right? And really push ourselves. Nothing crazy, but just getting that heart rate up, sprinting for 30 seconds and then walking, like I mentioned before, and you can repeat that for 10 to 15 minutes. It combines cardio, strength benefits. You can do it quickly. It helps with your insulin, and it also helps build new cells, your mitochondria. So recommendation is 1 to 2 sessions again per week, and you can incorporate that with other things that you're doing. So let's just say you do 10 minutes of high intensity training, and then you do some weight training or vice versa, and then stretch at the end or at the beginning. So that helps your metabolic health, makes it more efficient, and boosts cellular health as well, and your brain. Okay, balance exercises. I mentioned this a little bit. Single leg exercises are fantastic. So if anybody's working with a trainer or you want to Google some things, definitely mix in some of these balance exercises. So alternating single leg lunges, dumbbell presses with one arm, that really forces your core to work harder. And it also exposes your weaker side. Like if for instance, I'm right-handed, so I'm more dominant on my right hand. Single leg things really force that less strong side to work harder. So we want to build that. We kind of want to be balanced out. And it's critical for aging, of course. So again, this can be incorporated into any of your exercise routines. And again, it reduces injury and it keeps you active, hopefully for a very long time. So just some things to consider when you're looking at how can I incorporate some movement into my day? What do I need to consider and why they're all important for us? So putting it all together for overall health and longevity, just aim for a little bit of variety. But the most important thing when it comes to exercise is just consistency. So I did put a sample week in here. Monday might be a 30-minute brisk walk with some stretching. Tuesday, you could do a HIIT class on video or at a gym, 20, 10, even 10 minutes of HIIT you'll get benefits. Wednesday would be strength training. Take a day off and do some light recovery work with some yoga on Thursday. And then maybe a longer cardio session one day a week with some balance drills, just even standing on one leg, like while you're doing dishes or talking on the phone, whatever that is. Saturday can be another strength training. Maybe you focus on different parts of the body. And Sundays could be a nice long walk outside or a bike ride. And now that the weather's changing, especially today was fantastic. I think tomorrow's supposed to be fantastic as well. Getting outside as much as you can for some of these exercises, and you kind of kill two birds with one stone there and get some vitamin D. I did want to talk about hydration. And I didn't cover this with the food, but I think it kind of goes hand in hand with our exercise. So ideally, we want to stay hydrated for a bunch of different reasons. But what is the recommendation? Half your body weight in ounces per day. Ideally, water. Coffee can be included in that, and teas. No sodas, no juices, nothing like that, but anything that's more of a clear liquid that doesn't have sugar in it. And some foods are considered in that. So doing the best you can with hydration. Why do we want to do that? It's a fatigue buster. Think about when you're dehydrated, you tend to be more tired. Your productivity might go down. So if you're hydrated, you'll be more productive. Clear skin, a brain boost, right? Your brain you tend to be more focused. Calorie control. When you are drinking water, especially if you drink before a meal, you tend to not eat as much. That's why sometimes you might hear people say, drink a glass of water before you eat. I will say one of the best things you can do when you get up in the morning is have a glass of water, even with some lemon in it, because think about it, you've been sleeping all night and we tend to wake up dehydrated. So a great way to get your metabolism going and to rehydrate first thing in the morning before your coffee or tea is to grab at least an 8-ounce glass of water. We want to keep our fluids balanced, specifically electrolytes, and you can also supplement with electrolytes if you feel the need, especially if you're exercising. Those are super important. It's fuel for your muscles. We want to keep those nice and hydrated. Flushes out toxins. So if you have a toxin buildup, especially if you're sick, you know, when you're sick, you say drink lots of fluids, fighting a fever, all that kind of stuff, and it helps normalize your blood. So lots of benefits to making sure that we're hydrated. How can we stay hydrated? Drink water regularly throughout the day, adjusting the amount based on your activity, if it's hot outside or you're thirsty, just following your own specific cues. Carrying a reusable water bottle to encourage sipping wherever you go. I tend to like to use a smaller one because I'll drink it and then that's my cue to fill it back up instead of having a big one and it just sits there. It forces me to refill. Some water-rich foods like fruits like watermelon, oranges, cucumbers, and lettuce are all great and very good to keeping you hydrated. Some people need reminders because they're so busy at work. Setting your phone or a watch just as a little alarm to drink or take a sip is always a good way of following up. Flavor your water. Some people just don't like regular water. So you can use natural additives like lemon, mint, cucumber. If you feel the need, you just need a little bit of extra. There's a lot of good bubbly waters out there. You just have to read the label. How can we monitor? How do you know if you're dehydrated? The easiest way is the color of your urine. If it's pale yellow, usually indicates good hydration, while dark yellow suggests you need more fluids. Now, there are some things that can play a part in that, like certain medications can make your urine darker. But in general, just take a quick look and see if it's white and clear, then you're doing a fantastic job, or if you're going to the bathroom more often. Um, but in general, pale yellow is what we're going for. Drink before, during, and after exercise to replace what's lost in your sweat. And then you're making sure that you're rehydrating. And then limiting dehydrating drinks like alcohol and excessive caffeine, and trying to balance them out with some water if you do consume them. So if you're out having some cocktails and you come home, they always say drink some water before you go to bed. Okay, final thoughts. The best exercise is one you enjoy and can stick with consistently. Consistency trumps the intensity always, even though we love intensity. Start where you are, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, and build from there. Pair it with good nutrition, sleep, and hydration for maximum benefits. Exercise isn't just about adding years to your life, it's about adding life to your years. I love that. So just move more whenever you can, especially if you have a desk job. Any questions? I know I covered a lot there, and I'd love to hear what some of you are doing. I'd love to hear how things are going in general. And then if you have any questions or thoughts about more information you'd like to receive from me, I hope you're finding the daily tips that I'm sharing helpful. I will move on to more movement information, but anything you need, I'm here to serve you and help you get through these 40 days.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
When you talked about like the sweating, so I know this doesn't take place of exercising, but I like to go to the sauna and like sweat. Do you know of any like additional benefits for doing adding that part to this holistic approach?
Yes, it's so good for detoxification purposes and keeping your joints supported. So yes, big fan of sauna. And does anybody know when you lose weight, do you know how you actually lose the fat? Do you know how it releases from your body? Does anybody know that?
I was gonna say you just can't find it anymore. I don't know.
Sweat?
Lose
Yeah,
fat.
I want to say sweat.
Water.
Like think about
Sweat for
it.
200.
Yeah, so you do lose a little bit of water, but you actually breathe out the fat. That's actually how you lose
What?
fat. Yes,
Whoa.
through your
So
breath.
I just need to breathe faster this whole time?
This whole time.
So it's a combination of all those things, and your fat actually comes out of your body through your breath. So exercise, if you're breathing heavy, that's how we end up losing the fat. So it's a combination of all the things we're doing. But a lot of people don't think about like where does the fat actually go? Like what actually happens to it? So it's kind of interesting. Yes. But as far as the sauna, 100% love the sauna, and red light therapy, good for inflammation, all of
What
that.
about cold plunging?
Yes, cold plunge, longevity benefits, for sure. Fighting inflammation, all of that plays. If you can incorporate some of those things, you're going to be way ahead of the majority of the population.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was wondering, is it true about there's health benefits in taking cold showers?
There is. I mean, even if you splashed cold water on your face, there's a benefit to it. Um, you can start off like if you don't have access to a sauna, cold showers are just as effective. You just have to stay in there a little bit longer and make sure that it's cold enough. Like I know some people would just put their face in a cold bowl of ice and water. Depends on what you have at your disposal. But yes, there are benefits to all of that.
We have a question in the chat asking from Crystal, would you be able to provide some good examples to eat before intense workouts? As
Yes.
well as how much time before the workout should it be consumed?
Yes, I will provide that in the resources. Usually an hour, at least an hour before, to give your body a chance to digest the food before you work out. And it also depends on what time it's very personalized. If you tend to work out early in the morning, like I have a lot of people in my 5:30 class, they're not really eating before, but you definitely want to fuel after. So it just depends on if you feel like, now if you exercise in the afternoon, you've obviously will have eaten some food. But there's definitely some specific things that can help give you energy before a workout, and then protein for sure after the workout, because if you're working those muscles, you want to feed the muscles protein to help build them. But I will definitely do that.
Now, would you recommend with the protein, would you recommend like a meat as your protein or like a protein shake, like kind of like artificial protein?
Any source of protein will work. And I'd shoot for at least 30 grams.
And should that be the same if you're working out late at night? So do you want to have something to eat before you go to bed?
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So I would have something lighter, like a protein shake, where it's not going to take a lot to digest. So let's just say you're working out at 7 p.m. I would probably do something like a yogurt or a cottage cheese, eggs, or a protein shake. Because you don't want to put anything too heavy before you go to bed.
Okay, Kim. Now, with that being said, so I'm not trying to lose weight, but I know I need to exercise healthy. So it scares me a lot to like do a lot of intensity workouts because I shed really, really fast. So I wanna like keep the weight on. So even in the sense like what you said, like eating something light like a yogurt, would I lose the fat that I'm trying to keep, to be honest?
Well, that's where you get into more of the numbers. Like I'd have to look at your total calories
Mm-hmm.
instead of just like a meal or what you're doing before or after a workout. So, if you spread your calories out throughout the day, knowing that you're going to have a later workout and something after, you wouldn't lose the fat. No. We want more muscle than fat. And
Okay.
muscle weighs more than fat. So there are, I talked about there's a DEXA scan, which measures your bone density, but there are also machines out there called in-body composition machines, like Orange Theory sometimes has them, or a practitioner you go to may have them. And it takes a electromagnetic pulse of your body, and it'll tell you your body fat percent, your muscle mass, and your weight, of course. But it also tells you your visceral fat, and that's the fat around usually your midline around your organs. So the fat that you can't see, and that's the fat that we need to be very concerned with, because that's the dangerous fat. So
What's the name of it again?
I'm sorry?
What's the name of the fat you called it? The midsection, the one you can't see. What's the name of it?
Yeah, visceral fat. Yeah. Subcutaneous is the stuff you can pinch, but the visceral fat is the stuff we can't see. So those in-body scans and some of the DEXA scans, if they have the right software, will be able to tell you that, where your visceral fat, like where it is on a scale. And then you can tailor your eating patterns, your exercise patterns to get that visceral fat down. And one of the things I want to make sure, when we talk about weight and scales, it's hard to go by BMI, because muscle does weigh more than fat. So we don't necessarily want to get caught up in the scale. We want to make sure that your body composition is where it needs to be and that visceral fat is low. So it's just a good base to have as we're making these decisions or have to change.
Can you say one more time? So how do you measure visceral fat?
So there's a couple ways. There's different machines. So one is a DEXA scan, but they have to have the software. The other one is called an in-body scan. So the company is called In-Body, and I'll put a sheet out there so you can actually see what it looks like. But it scans your body. You stand on it, you hold it by the handles, and it takes a magnetic scan of your body, and it prints out, and it'll tell you, like, based on your age and your gender, where you are with your muscle mass, your body fat. And it's just a great piece of information, I think. Gives you some focus.
Thanks.
There is a place in, I'll put that in there too. There's a place in Sandy Springs called Live Lean RX. That's kind of where I go to get my DEXA scan, and they actually have the body composition software there. And I think it's about, I don't know if it's $60 or $75 for a scan. But if you ask your general practitioner sometimes, or your OBGYN may, depending on your age, they may recommend you do a bone density scan. And then you can always ask, do they also have the body composition software to tell me where my muscle mass is and my visceral fat? You can ask that.
So one question came in that asked, do certain smart scales measure your visceral fat as well?
I believe so. I know of one called, I think it's Omicron is the name of the scale. There are some out there. I don't know how accurate they are. The gold standard would be the DEXA scan with the software. That's the gold standard. That is by far the most accurate. The in-body, and then there are definitely some, I'd probably read the reviews or ask a friend, or if you have a trainer that's familiar with it, there are some that can at least give you a good range. But it's definitely an important number to know. That's what we want to see. That visceral fat number, we want to see that going down. We want to see our muscle going up. Good questions. Anything else? How is the food going? Everybody kind of staying on track and learning some things?
I'm going to ask a question because when you mentioned the water, I thought I heard you say something about drinking tea.
Yes.
Or what kind of tea are we talking about? And
So I'm a big proponent of green tea or any herbal teas.
okay, so those are good.
Yes, they're
Oh, okay. Okay, because I was like, but what's wrong with them? Okay, perfect. My second question is regarding strength exercises.
Mhm.
So I heard you mention weights and bands. So my hands, I'm having some issues with my hands, so I'm limited to holding the weights and just holding on to bands for an exercise period. However, my question is, if I'm still doing those movements, like if I'm doing, the video is doing the overhead press or things like that, am I still getting a benefit even though I don't have the weights in my hand? Am I getting a benefit in a strength sense?
Are you able to do, because pressing, would be this way. Are you able to do like push-ups instead? Or are your hands still limited?
Yeah, I could never do push-ups. I can do planks,
Okay.
sit-ups.
Is it that you can't grip, or like, are you able to
Yeah,
hold?
it's the gripping. It's the gripping and the holding of the weight, and then the gripping to hold the bands.
Okay. Can you hold things like a sandbag where you'd have your hands open
Yes.
versus?
I
Okay.
could do that.
Yeah, so those are things I would recommend. They have there's different things, but longer sandbags where you'd hold it in the palm of your hand versus having to grip and hold on to it.
Okay, I'll look at something like that. Thank
Because
you.
you want resistance, even if if you can't do push-ups, if you did, on the floor, but you can do them against a wall or off of a
Yeah,
table.
I could do that against the wall, yes. Okay.
You want more resistance to make the bones stronger and push the muscles as much as you can.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great question. You're welcome.
What about holding the medicine ball? Would that help?
A medicine bottle?
Medicine ball.
Yeah, medicine balls are great. That's especially good for your core. You can do lots of things with your core with a med ball. Yeah, those are fantastic. Love all of it. Anybody else? Anybody have any positive like things you want to share that have gone right this past week?
Well, I guess this is a little bit funny. I have a story for you guys. Um, so I guess this helps with the food portion because my son left the freezer open for like 9 hours and everything defrosted, so I don't have any food, so I can start fresh.
Oh my gosh.
So that's how it's going for me in the food department.
Oh, no. I hope you were able to eat some of it.
No, none.
Oh, that's crazy.
It
Well,
was warm. No ice cream. Everything was gone.
okay, I'm happy about the ice cream.
I know, right? It's bittersweet, you know?
Now you can start, now you know what to buy.
Exactly. I'm gonna use the list.
Yes, good, excellent. I love it.
Crystal says she's on a no fast food streak.
That's a great thing. I love that. I know it's hard, but what a great, that's like low hanging fruit right there, right? Just taking that fast food out of the picture. Are you cooking? Or are you planning? How are you doing that exactly? Not driving by them?
So I am not very, good on meal prepping just yet, but I've just kind of been making sure that whatever I eat is at home, like going through what I have. I do like go to the grocery store and kind of buy some things on the grocery list that you provided, but I just kind of throw things together in the moment with using it. But I'm not big on, well, I've never been big on cooking, and I just felt like fast food was convenient. So, although it's only been like a week and some change that I haven't had any fast food, it's a really big deal for me because I will almost eat it like once a day, whether that's for one meal. So, if I didn't eat it for breakfast, I would eat it for dinner, if I didn't, vice versa. And so just the fact that I'm eating 3 times a day at home with food that I have and food that I got from the grocery store, I'm really proud of myself.
I'm so proud of you too. That's huge because, the part of the fast, it's just convenience, right? But it can be done. It can be done. And do you feel better? Do you feel different yet?
Absolutely. And the food just feels like fresher. But I've also been like telling myself anything that I would want out of fast food, I can make at home in some variation. So if I'm, just don't be lazy. That's what I'm trying to tell myself. Don't be lazy. Like if you want tacos, you can make tacos. You can do whatever that is in whatever healthy sense. It only takes a few minutes to look up a recipe and see what you already have. And it's also challenging my mom because like the first few days she was like, "Oh, you're serious. Like you're actually in this kitchen." And so now she's like, "Well, you're not about to just leave me hanging. I'm gonna be doing it too."
I love that. I'm so happy for you. That's really great. So good. So good. One of the easiest things I tell my kids all the time. I think it's like the younger age too. Like they just like eating out. I'm like, well, you better be making a lot of money because I don't know how you're going to maintain all this. But you're right when you say that you can make anything at home that you're buying there. Just takes a little bit of effort. So bravo, good for you.
So we talked about exercise and eating. And I probably have missed maybe if you said breakfast was important. But how do you feel about those statements and intermittent fasting? So my intermittent fasting takes away a normal breakfast hour.
Yeah. I'm a big proponent of intermittent fasting. Um, It depends on the person and it depends on why you're doing it. It is a good tool if you're trying to lose some weight, but there are also a lot of longevity benefits for fasting. We weren't meant to eat all day long, 24/7, all hours of the day. When you think about where we came from, they had to go out and hunt and gather and cook and skin and all those kinds of things. So ideally, you want to eat a good balanced meal and give yourself a chance and your digestive system to digest, but then also relax and get ready for the next meal. Um, I think that for women, it's a little different. If you're still menstruating, you need to follow your cycle. You don't want to deprive yourself that week before because your body's almost preparing for a baby. So you kind of want to follow that a little bit. So I do like intermittent fasting, but I like it to change. I think we really need to not do the same thing every day because you want to make your metabolism flexible. You want to keep it guessing. So if you decide you want to eat within an 8-hour window, you maybe do that Monday through Friday, and then you change it up a little bit on the weekend. So just being a little bit more flexible. Now, as far as the breakfast, I guess I should have rephrased that and said your first meal. The most important thing is whatever fasting you're doing, whenever you're eating, you want it to be a well-balanced, nutrient-dense meal. So
Okay.
I will use myself as an example. I try to eat within an 8-hour window, and I try
Mhm.
to balance it between 3 meals, but I focus a lot on protein and fiber. So I try to hit a certain protein number each day, but I split it between those 3 meals. So as long as you're getting the nutrients you need,
Mhm.
you're good. But yeah, it's a great tool. It helps with inflammation. It helps with so many different things.
Yeah, I'm using it more for those other things. I'm not in a category where I'm having to lose weight. The intermittent fasting does help me maintain my weight. And if I need to lose, then that is a tool I use for that. I just go longer. So that was good. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I know I have a lot of friends who they do fast one day, 24-hour fast once a
You know.
there's many different ways of doing it, but it is all very helpful because you
Yeah.
need to give your digestive system a rest for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Uh, Great question. Anybody else? Next week, we're going to talk about sleep and rest and recovery, which plays an important part. It all ties together. I know, Vince, you wanted me to talk about the workout, right? So March 23rd, it's a Sunday, at noon, we're gonna meet at the church. And I'm gonna I want a simple, and I'm not saying easy, won't be that hard. Just a workout. We'll do some cardio, some body strength stuff. Maybe we'll have some healthy snacks and you guys can ask questions, but I'll make it probably about 20 minutes of a workout. Hopefully the weather's nice. We can get outside a little bit and do some inside and outside. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys in person. So hopefully you
Do we
can,
need to
yeah, bring your friends, family, bring whoever. The more the merrier. It'll be fun.
bring any equipment?
No, I think we're just gonna keep it simple so that everybody can participate. So it'll be more, we'll do some cardio, maybe some running outside, and then nothing long, and then we'll do some body weight stuff and some stretching, warm up. It'll probably be a total of 30 minutes. Good. Vince, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm reading a comment here. It says, "Oh Lord, let me mentally prepare to be running."
Not a lot, a little bit of a run. We got to get our heart rate up.
It doesn't take very long to.
You'll have people probably that could push you and carry you along the way.
No, I'm good. This is wonderful, wonderful tonight. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Anything else that you guys would like information on, you could always put it in the app and I'll be happy to provide that. I know we have the foods prior to working out. I'll put a sample of that in body. And anything else you guys can think of, just feel free to put it in the chat.
Can you add your slides from tonight there also, please?
Yes. Add slides. Will do. Thank you so much for asking questions. All right, we good?
We are. I will pray us on.